Welcome to Touchdown Town on BetsTV. I'm Gilles Gallant with FTNBets and BetsTV. It's week 17. We're here every Sunday morning helping you make top quality decisions for your touchdown prop bets. The second last show of the 2021 season. We're in 2022 now. And I'm going to welcome in my co-host, Brenden Deeg of National Football Post, our resident Eagles fan, always wanting to kind of combat me as the Cowboys fan. Good friends outside of the show, but for football-wise, we just are oil and water. And he always has a bounce back. Not a great week last week, but, man, Brenden does not miss 2 weeks in a row. I love his picks. I can't wait for you guys to see what he's got today for his 5. And I had a great week because I did 9 picks last week. So that was my theory was, you know what? If you can't beat it, let's just do more. And ended up going 4 for 5. Made a few units of profit on that. So I'm going to do that again this week. I'll have some bonus picks at the end of the show. The reason being why I'm throwing in a little more picks like last week and, of course, this week is I expect week 18. I just expect a few games to be off the board, whether it be for COVID or guys sitting out or resting. I just think there won't be as many opportunities for touchdown scores. So let's not leave any in the chamber. Let's get loaded in for week 17. Now, before we get started with the picks, Brenden, I just want to remind everybody on Tuesday coming up here, we got my weekly show on BetsTV called Dog Day Afternoon. We were off for the holidays, but we're coming back for the January 4th. And I've got a great guest lined up. So be on the lookout for that coming on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern live on BetsTV. Brenden, New Year's, new feel. You ready to go?
Let's do this, baby.
All right. I'm going to get us started here. First pick of week 17. We were just talking about him off air, and probably my favorite pick of the week. We're going with Ryan Tannehill, anytime touchdown at plus 340. Grabbed him at FanDuel. And the one thing I would say about the quarterback market this year for touchdown scores, it's been pretty tricky, right? Because the reliable guys like a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, they barely use their legs anymore in the red zone. And them along Jalen Hurts, they're typically around the plus 130 range. But they're not hitting as consistently. Like even Jalen Hurts, like he has 10 touchdowns this year, but he has most of them like in 2 touchdown games or even a 3 touchdown game, for example. Well, Ryan Tannehill, for me, for my money, from a quarterback standpoint, he is the most consistent quarterback to bet on. In 7 of 15 games, he has scored a touchdown. He's second in the NFL in red zone carries behind Jalen Hurts for quarterbacks. And when the Titans get to the red zone, you know that Tanny is going to get at least 1 to 2 shots of carrying the ball himself. And playing at home as well against this Dolphins defense, 5 of his 7 touchdowns this year have been scored in Tennessee. And if you would blindly bet on Ryan Tannehill in every game to score a touchdown, you'd be up 14.5 units in profit. He is the most profitable anytime touchdown scorer in the NFL this year. You can find that tool at FTNBets with our anytime touchdown tracker. So Ryan Tannehill at plus 340 is my first bet of week 17.
He's a favorite of ours, right? Tannehill always makes at least one of our picks. I like this one a lot, and I'm actually really looking forward to that game, Titans versus Dolphins. I think it's actually sneakily one of the more interesting games of the week.
Absolutely, especially with the Dolphins winning 6 straight. And I'll be honest with you, I do have Tannehill throw an interception in that game just because it was plus money at plus 110. And just I think people should consider that as well, just because if you look at the last 6 games during the 6-game winning streak for the Dolphins, 9 interceptions forced to the opposing quarterbacks. So, and Tannehill has 14 interceptions. I'm pretty sure that's the most in the NFL right now, or at least tied. So take a look at that if you can still get that at plus money. Brenden, that's my first pick of a quarterback. I believe you've got a quarterback to go for week 17. What do you got?
I do. We're sticking with the quarterbacks here. I'm going to another game that I'm sure everyone's looking forward to, probably the best game of the week, Chiefs versus Bengals. Going with Joe Burrow, plus 550 at DraftKings. Look, the Chiefs' defense is kind of a straight-up man-to-man blitz style defense. So what does that do? That opens up the lane for the quarterback. It opens up for him to having to use his legs, which I think he's going to have to do in this game. The Chiefs allowed the 5th most rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks this season and have tied for the most rushing touchdowns allowed to opposing quarterbacks this season. So I think Joe Burrow's going to have to use his legs more. They're going to probably do their best they can to take out all the wideouts on the Cincinnati Bengals. So I just think he's going to have to make some plays, especially in the red zone. At plus 550 is a great value.
I'm tailing this one because I need the retribution from week 3 or week 4, whatever it was.
I was thinking about you when I was locking on this pick.
I still Burrow again, and you can even look to the track record of my picks since week 4. It's like I was on a nice little heater in the first 3 weeks. Once I claimed that Joe Burrow scored and it was turned over on Twitter, my picks have just slowly kind of depreciated. But I have cashed on him just individually, just throw him on some parlays here or there. He's scored a few touchdowns already this season. But playing against this defense at home, I think you have a very good shot, especially at those odds of plus 550. Great pick. Mm-hmm. All right, so first 2 picks are in. I've got a quarterback. You've got a quarterback. Brenden, I'm going to a Philadelphia Eagle with my second pick. I'm going with Dallas Goedert. You had him last week. I'm going to take him this week at plus 260. And, yeah, you would look at his game log and you kind of wonder, whether or not this is a great pick. Just because, again, he's got 3, maybe 4 touchdowns this year. Lack of touchdowns. But if you look at the stats just as far as routes run, snaps, catches, targets – this is just too good not to bet at these odds. He caught 7 balls for 135 yards just 2 weeks ago against Washington. He almost broke into the end zone as well. And the one thing I like as well against this defense playing against Washington, they've allowed 3 touchdowns to tight ends over the last 5 games. They're ranked bottom 10 in both yards and receptions to tight ends. And just kind of looking around at the landscape, I bet this at Bet365, by the way. You can still get him at varying odds just a little over plus 200 at different books. But I was seeing him as low as like plus 150, Brenden, at FanDuel this morning. So you could tell that other odds makers are very high on this guy to score this week. And I know it's difficult to kind of feel great about picking like a receiving option for the Eagles just because they run the ball so well. And Jalen loves to call his own number. And Jordan Howard's going to be active today, I believe, and even Kenneth Gainwell or Boston Scott. There's a lot of different running options for Philly, but I do like my chances with Dallas Goedert to get into the end zone. Plus 260 was just too good a value to pass up.
Sorry, I was on mute there. Dallas Goedert is probably the best passing option on the Eagles right now. Devonta Smith had the biggest game last week. Those guys are probably going to rotate from the most targets out of any Philadelphia Eagle game by game basis. So yeah, I like this one a lot. Whenever he's over plus 150, everyone should be taking a look at him.
Brenden, as the resident Eagles fan, I wanted to ask you a question about Greg Ward. Greg Ward right now is top 5 in anytime touchdown score profits because he's scored 4 times this year, but his odds are always like plus 800, plus 1,000, crazy odds. But he always just seems to get, this garbage time touchdown in the fourth quarter to kind of sprink up his profits. I just wanted to know, do you think it's worth throwing a little sprinkle on Ward to get another touchdown today, especially with how Washington does against wide receivers?
I don't know. I guess it's worth a sprinkle. I don't really get the Greg Ward usage. He's got only 7 targets this season, and I think does he have 3 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns? Something like that.
Either way,
he's actually dropped 2. He's had 2 drop touchdowns in the end zone. So basically, all of his targets until I believe 2 weeks ago against Washington were actually red zone targets, like in the end zone. For some reason, they like using him in the end zone. I don't really get it, but yeah, if he's over, I think he was like a plus 700 or something when I was looking earlier this week. So if he's at that value, if he's at that range, it's not a bad idea to maybe sprinkle.
Yeah, I thought I saw him as high as plus 1,000, for example, at DraftKings. He might have dropped. I wouldn't take that any less than plus 750 if you are going to sprinkle that, by the way. So, okay, so I got 2 picks in. Brenden, I want to hear your second pick of week 17.
I'm going to your boys here. I really like this matchup for this guy. I'm going Michael Gallup plus 210. The Arizona Cardinals they've had a pretty good defense this year, but they've quietly allowed the most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers this year, and he's been a target machine. He's had at least over 5 targets in every single game. And the amount of money this guy's going to make this offseason, he's going to keep balling as the season continues on. At plus 210, this is really, really good value for this guy.
I mean, I love Gallup. I really love all the wide receivers. Obviously, I'm a little biased being a Cowboys fan, but anytime you can get Gallup a little bit over plus 200, I think you have to consider it just because he's been making a lot of tough catches. I mean, he's been doing that his entire career, but really this season you could tell, especially on third down conversions, they've been looking for him a lot. I think both Cooper and Lamb and Cedric Wilson, they all have the ability to high point the ball, but I think Gallup has the best catch contest skill, if that makes sense, especially playing against this defense. I think it's a great pick. All right, so we're 2 picks in. I'm going to go with my third pick. This is old faithful, maybe reliable. We're going with Hunter Renfrow at plus 225. Grab that at Bet365. And I think we need to start giving it up for Hunter Renfrow because man, his moves and separation at the line of scrimmage. And I mean, you could tell when you're on social media, you'll just see these clips of him just burning these secondary guys in the slot or whatever. It's like football porn watching highlights of him now. Like he's getting targets and work like some of the top names in the game. I just want to bring up some names here and kind of why we need to start respecting Hunter Renfrow here. So Renfrow this season, 9th in total red zone targets this season with 25. That's the same amount as Tyreek Hill. Same amount as Justin Jefferson. It's more than DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, his Clemson teammate, Mike Evans. Long list of guys with way lower odds to score. They're all in the plus 150, plus 140, maybe even less range. And the Colts, they've given up 18 touchdowns to wide receivers this season, so they can be thrown on. Now, Wentz is going to start today, and my theory was when betting this is that if Ellinger had to start, Raiders could get maybe a lot of short fields, maybe some more scoring opportunities if they're just going 3 and out or maybe turning it over. But if Wentz starts, I actually like them to be able to throw from behind. And I think the Colts will probably run all over them. And then they're just going to have to get behind and have to throw the ball. And I think Renfrow is going to be the biggest beneficiary here. So Hunter Renfrow is my third pick of week 17 at plus 225.
Yeah, he's sneakily having a really good season for that for the Las Vegas Raiders. Really fun player to watch. And if he's over plus 220, definitely hammer it.
Absolutely. All right. Now, Brenden, I want to hear your third pick of the week because I'm pretty pumped about this one. I tail all your picks, but this is the one when I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I liked it even before they announced that Jordan Howard was going to play for the Eagles. I actually don't think he's going to get a ton of carries today. I think it's going to be Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell show, and that is my pick. We're going Kenneth Gainwell plus 350 at DraftKings. It's a great opportunity for him. No Miles Sanders in this game, so I think he's going to be asked to do a lot more. He's kind of more of a receiving back as well. He leads the Eagles, all of Eagles running backs in receptions. He's actually tied for the team lead out of touchdowns, if you can believe it, from skill position players for the Eagles as well. And if you watched, it was not even too long ago, 13 days ago, when they played the exact same team, the Eagles played the Washington football team. Eagles ran for 200 yards. They just destroyed them from beginning to end. No Montez Sweat in this game as well. So I think the Washington pass rush is going to be a little deflated. I really, really like this pick. And just he's got to be up there on your FTNBets tracker as well, correct?
I mean, he's up there. I mean, there's a lot of Eagles, really. But the fact just with him, he's always been in the plus 250 to plus 400 range. The only time he's been less than plus 200 this year, Gainwell, was the week that Miles Sanders got hurt the following week. And people thought that it was going to be the Gainwell show over Boston Scott. And then that obviously was overturned very quickly as far as the thinking, because they like to keep him in that third down passing role. And I think that's what's going to happen here today. I think you're going to see a passing touchdown from him. I think him and Goddard are going to be able to score today. And he's always been one of my favorites because he's like third in red zone targets on the team, but also third in red zone carries. Like, you know what I mean? So like, it's kind of one of those things that like you really have a lot of opportunity for him to score. So at plus 350 for this team that has just been running the ball down the opponent's throat, very, very good value. I'll leave it to you to let me know if Jordan Howard is going to be affected today. He right now is the favorite to score in that game. Like him and Jalen Hurts are right around the plus 130 range.
So he's active. I have a hard time seeing them kind of giving him a normal workload. He's had to see his injury is called a stinger. And he had the same injury in 2019 that caused him to miss 6 games. So I think they're going to be a little cautious with him. But I think they just active him just in case because they only have 2 running backs active on the roster. So they needed kind of him just as maybe an emergency role. But we'll see. It's a tough backfield to kind of get your head around. But I just think Gainwell will get those red zone touches.
For sure. Yeah. So, all right, we're 3 picks in. We both have an Eagle. So hopefully we can both kind of cash this in today. My 4th pick, Brenden, a game that I think a lot of people are going to be taking pass catchers to do very well today. And it's a Ram. And it's not Odell Beckham. I'm actually taking Van Jefferson. Got him for anytime touchdown at plus 275 at Bet365. Now, if you're wondering, again, and this is similar to last week of why I have most of my bets, or at least a lot of them are from Bet365. It's just because they were offering the odds earlier in the week, and with holiday season, whatever else, it's just a lot easier to grab odds from a book like that than waiting on like FanDuel or DraftKings, who eventually did come up with all their odds, and they're all fairly similar. But I'm going to stick with Van Jefferson here at plus 275. And why I'm taking him is that he's still heavily utilized in the passing game, even though he's taken a little bit of a backseat to Odell over the last 2 weeks. Like the last 2 weeks, Odell has kind of exploded, and his odds are down to like plus 150, plus 160 to score. But Van Jefferson's still playing 96% of the offensive snaps, and since ODB came aboard. So 6 touchdowns this year. 3 of those touchdowns have been by big plays, like 50 yards or more touchdowns. And the reason why I bring that up is the Ravens secondary is beat up. They've given up 4 passing touchdowns of 20 yards or more over their last 5 games. 15 big play passes as well of 20 yards or more in those games. Like, they are just getting thrown on by opponents right now. 26th in passing touchdowns allowed to wide receivers this season and 30th in passing yards overall. This is the Ravens defense we're talking about here. So if Stafford ever looks in another direction than, say, like Cooper Kupp, who he just seems to force feed in every instance, we're going to hit a bet today. So I love Van Jefferson at plus 275 to score against the Ravens today.
Yeah, and you're correct about the Ravens secondary. They don't have any corners left. Like, they're on like their 4th and 5th starting corners from the start of the year. So their secondary is severely banged up. And maybe a little bounce back game from Stafford. He was ugly last week, so hopefully he can bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, so 4 picks in for me, Brenden. Let's hear your 4th of week 17.
Okay, so going to another, sticking with the wide receivers here, kind of same value as well. Going Devontae Parker plus 270. Those odds are available at DraftKings. Since returning from injury, Parker has 13 targets and a touchdown in his last 3 games. I think his workload is going to drastically increase as the season goes as well. They're going to need him. He's kind of that big red zone threat. They gave him a ton of money 2 years ago. You need to start getting some more value from that contract. And the Titans have allowed 17 touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. They were basically the team that allowed the most all year, and then the Cardinals kind of took over. They had that one bad game, so they're still a lot. They still allow a lot. I think the Dolphins are going to have to throw a lot in this game as well. Their run game has struggled. Duke Johnson's getting carries for this team now, so I think in the red zone they're going to have to look his way.
I think the one thing that was really telling with this game that I was just kind of looking at, because I was looking at Jalen Waddle, and he's around like plus 120 to plus 150 depending on the sports book. But you could see that they were kind of gunning towards him maybe breaking that record today because he needs 6 more receptions to have the most receptions by a rookie. And the line, from what I've seen in a lot of books, the over-under for his receptions line is 5.5, and it's plus money on the over. So I think they are going to have to throw a lot today, and I think Waddle will break that record, and I think Parker will score too. So the fact that you're getting at those kind of odds are pretty good. I liked Gesicki too. If people were looking at odds for that game, he's around the plus 300 range as well. I just think as well, like what you were saying, I just think the Dolphins' run offense is not very great, so they're going to have to throw a lot if they want to try to win this game against the Titans. Okay, 4 picks in. Brenden, going with a little bit of a repeat here for my final pick of Week 17. We had him last week, and it kind of blew up in our face, but I still like it again. And it's going to be DJ Moore with the Carolina Panthers. I grabbed him at DraftKings at plus 275. And the reason being is, so I just want to take people back. For anybody who hasn't been watching the show since the start of the year, if we go back to week 2 when they played the Saints, I took DJ Moore at plus 210 in that matchup. And he's been around plus 130 ever since that game routinely with Sam Darnold starting. So Matt Rule has announced that Sam Darnold's going to be throwing the ball. And obviously, both of these quarterbacks, both Sam Darnold and Cam Newton, have their flaws. But if you're like me and you think that Darnold isn't very good, you still come to the same conclusion that he's infinitely better than Cam Newton as a passer. Like 5 touchdowns. So for DJ Moore, I just want to kind of remind people as well of his history of playing against the Saints. In his last 5 games versus New Orleans, he has 5 touchdowns. In his career, he's only scored 14 touchdowns in 61 games. So literally over 35% of all of his touchdowns have come against the Saints defense. Earlier this year, when I bet on him, when he was at plus 210, he had 8 catches for 79 yards and a touchdown in that game. And again, similar to why I bet on DJ Moore last week against the Bucs, just like the Saints run defense is pretty tough. So I think if the Panthers get into the red zone, you're not going to see Cam Newton or Sam Darnold try to call their own number. They're going to have to throw the ball. And I trust them to look for DJ Moore in this spot. And I'll take my chances with Moore at plus 275 over Robbie Anderson around like plus 310. So DJ Moore is my final, is my 5th pick of week 17.
Absolutely love this one. That was a cool little nugget you had with basically a lot of his touchdowns go against the Saints. He's had over 10 targets in 5 straight, I believe. So getting him at this value is insane. And Sam Darnold is starting fully today. I don't know what the hell they've been doing at the quarterback position. So I do, even though it sounds weird saying Sam Darnold benefits them, but I believe it does. Like, you take out that Cam Newton run from the playbook. So that means they're going to be looking for him more in the red zone. He becomes basically the top target in the red zone now.
Yeah, I mean, we might still see Cam get his number called, like maybe at like the 1 yard line or something like that. But I just think that against this defense, it'd be difficult to kind of call that out right now. But again, I think at these odds, it's worth a shot at plus 275. I've seen him as high as plus 300 at some other books as well.
Yep.
But yeah, if you just look over the last 5 games, just look at how DJ Moore has played against this team. It's been hilarious that he is still at plus 275 when he was plus 210 in that last matchup and just chewed them up. So, All right. So, Brenden, let's hear your 5th pick now.
Okay. I've been waiting to unleash this for a while now. We've been kind of going back and forth over the last few weeks, waited for the right time to do it. And I think this is it. We are going with, and this is a first on Touchdown Town. We're going with a parlay. I'm going Javonte Williams parlayed with Deebo Samuel at plus 505. That's available at DraftKings. The inaugural parlay is the first time we've done it on the show. Again, I've been looking to kind of get this involved, and I think it's valuable. I think if you like 2 guys that you don't really love the value at, you put them together. Of course, you get better odds. That's just gambling in a nutshell. I think this is great value as well, plus 505. These 2 guys, they're going against run defenses, are not very good, especially the Chargers' run defense. So I think Javonte Williams is going to get a ton of action in the red zone. Both really good matchups. Both it's hard for me to tell you how good these guys are. Like you already know, it's Javonte Williams and Deebo Samuel. These 2 guys are awesome. You shouldn't really need much convincing around how good they are and all the stats and whatnot. But I do believe these 2 guys paired together at plus 505 is very, very, very good value, especially in a tough 4 o'clock slate where I was having some hard time finding value. These matchups are really good. And let's knock it out of the park. Let's go 1-on-1 with these.
No, I love this parlay, man. Yeah. So, like at plus 500 or plus 505, it might range depending on your sports book. It's not going to go less than like plus 480. It's probably not going to go more than plus 550. But still, the point is that Deebo, in a nutshell, has been the offense for the Niners. So if anything, between the 2, that's probably the one you probably feel most confident in. And then you start looking at the Chargers matchups. Melvin Gordon in 3 games, I think he's played 3 games against the Chargers since he left that team, has not been very effective against them and has not been able to score. Javonte has been easily the best running back on that team. If they want any chance to win this game, they're going to have to run the ball because you can't rely on Drew Lock to throw. That's why I wasn't even looking at like Cortland Sutton or Noah Fant or any of these kind of options, even after Jerry Jeudy is out for the game with COVID. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I think that's a great parlay, and I think that's the kind of the best advice. If you are going to do a touchdown parlay, try to keep it to like 2 picks, and just try to like hammer it and make it like a nice 1-unit play instead of trying to do like 5 picks and put like $100 on it, and you just one guy just gets hurt on the first play, and you're sitting there cursing yourself. So, all right, I'm going to do a quick rundown now of the picks that we have for Week 17. But before we do that, I just want to give out these bonus picks that I'm going to be doing this week as well. They're all tight ends. And they're all over plus 200. So first things first, Dawson Knox at plus 210. You already know that's an auto bet if he's over plus 200. That's at FanDuel. Next pick, it's going to be Tyler Higbee at plus 270. That's also at FanDuel. The Ravens have not been able to stop tight ends very well this year. And just in general, their pass defense hasn't been great. I think both Higbee and Van Jefferson is who I have. I think the Rams both of those guys can score today. And finally, we're going with one of your boys, former Eagles, Zach Ertz at plus 260. I think he's going to score today against the Cowboys. You just look at the history of his time with the Eagles playing against the Cowboys. And of course, with the Eagles, he scored against the Cowboys earlier this year. So at plus 260 with these options, I think those are the 3 that I really love today. So those are my 8 picks. Let's recap now all the picks for Week 17 from the show. First pick is Ryan Tannehill, plus 340 from me. He had Joe Burrow at plus 550. I went with Dallas Goedert at plus 260. He is going with Michael Gallup at plus 210. I have Hunter Renfrow at plus 225. Going with an Eagle, Kenneth Gainwell at plus 350. Van Jefferson at plus 275. Devontae Parker for Brenden at plus 270. And we both close it out. I have DJ Moore at plus 300. And he has got the first parlay in Touchdown Town history with Javonte Williams and Deebo Samuel coming in at plus 505. And, of course, my bonus picks of Higbee, Knox, and Ertz. All of these are single bets. So that is it for us for Week 17. 5 picks from me, 5 picks from Brenden, 3 bonus picks as well. We're going to see you next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern to be able to close out the season for Week 18. I'll also have some touchdown score picks coming out later today for Sunday Night Football between the Packers and Vikings. You can head over to FTNBets to get those bets now. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at GDog5000. Make sure to follow Brenden at Brenden Deeg NFP. I want to thank you all for watching Touchdown Town. I'm Gilles Gallant with BetsTV. Bon chance.